Doug NPA back with another video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on the way in. I really appreciate it. It shows that you support me and the content on this channel. Guys, I hope you're ready for this one. This guy has to be one of the biggest simps I've ever seen in my entire life. This is probably the biggest, since I started this channel, this is the biggest simp I've seen outside of Russell Wilson and Will Smith. This guy, software engineer, born and raised in England. He moved over to the United States, met this single mom that had already had 3 kids and had her fallopian tubes removed from her 3rd pregnancy. They decided to go to get IVF treatments to have a child together. 9 rounds of IVF, $200,000 in debt. So this guy starts robbing banks to pay off that debt, gets caught, and goes to prison for 4 years. I couldn't believe it either, guys. Let's get into the story. And in the comments, tell me where this guy ranks on your simp scale. Give me a 1 to 10 rating, please. Let's go.
Next guest was raised in Wales, had an idyllic childhood with all the privileges of a private school education.
So, how on earth did Reed Domingo end up spending nearly 4 years in an American jail for bank robbery? Well, Reed joins us now to share his remarkable story. Welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank
So
you,
this is really about a journey to becoming a parent, that desire, and what you will go to become a father. So just explain a little bit about the IVF journey, because this is your wife, Patrice. She underwent 9 rounds of IVF.
9 rounds, guys. 9. Gosh.
Over 5 years. So what was kind of the circumstances leading up to that? Why was that so necessary?
Primarily because in her early 20s, Patrice lost one fallopian tube through an ectopic pregnancy. And then after the delivery of her 3rd child, she...
You hear that? At the delivery of her 3rd child. So she was a single mom when he met her. This guy,
had the other tube cut because she wasn't expecting to get divorced and let alone have any more children.
So you had you'd moved to America to work for your father's company, a biotech company, and that's where you met Patrice and settled down in America.
Yes.
And where we know that if you are thinking about IVF, it is going to be incredibly expensive. And so tell us about that funding of before we get onto the main.
Well, before we get into that, guys, let me know, is there any scenario where this is worth it? This guy, he seems like a decent looking dude. He has an English accent, and people with English accents usually clean up with the women when it comes to the United States. For some reason, American men, we like women with English accents. It puts you up a point in attractiveness scale, and then women are the same way. If you're a guy with an English accent, it puts you 2 points up on a scale. I had a friend in high school that was studying from England, and he barely had to do anything. All he had to do was just talk, and the women were just all over him. So he seems like a decent enough guy. Why would he want to do this? All the women that he could have encountered, and he gets with a divorced single mom of 3. Guys, come on.
Main story. How difficult was it for you guys to pay for it? What was at risk?
As you said, the insurance didn't cover any of it, so we had to cover all of the costs, both the medical procedures and the medication.
And how selfish was this of this woman? Was this a mutual decision, I wonder, or did he feel pressure from her? And just from the cost, you think that she would say, look, this is getting too expensive, or one of them would have. $200,000.
At the time when we first started this process, we both had good jobs. As you said, I was working for my father as a director of sales, and Patrice was the regional director of 15 gyms for group exercise. So we had the means to fund it ourselves to start off with. And because we were just trying to circumnavigate the fact that she didn't have any tubes, we're both healthy individuals, it was supposed to be one time, and that was supposed to be it. So each round costs about approximately, say, $15,000.
$15,000 each time. So 8 times they failed, dusted themselves back off, and went back to the clinic. And it's $200,000. I wonder if they put that on credit cards. Did they remortgage the home? How did they do that, I wonder?
To do one round of IVF. At least it was in '92.
So then, by the end of that, you accumulate a debt of $250,000.
Oh, I got it wrong. $250,000, guys. Could you imagine? Now, I've seen, I've talked about student loan debt on this one. I've met women with $250,000 in student loan debt or a mortgage of $250,000. How could you explain if you had $200,000 in fertility debt? How would that conversation even go?
Because we did 9 times.
A lot of money. So you sort of, to pay for this, you liquidate nearly everything you own, you remortgage the house, so you're really trying to find a way of paying off this debt. There's nothing left to sell, the debt's still very much there. And that's when this sort of takes a direction that nobody was expecting, because the option that you chose was to rob a bank. Why?
It's absolutely crazy, and obviously I never thought I would find myself in that situation. This was obviously, 2-3 years of heavy pressures, financial pressures that I was bearing.
See, and guys, if you're a man, that's what it boils down to. Women want to get what they want financially, and then you're the man. You feel the pressure to have to deal with the finances. Women like to create messes that you have to clean up, guys. And this is the ultimate example. What was going through this guy's brain? It's a weird mixture of this new age, old age, where he feels a duty to make his wife happy, but then so he does something stupid. It's just, why didn't he find a woman that he didn't have to go through this with? And let me know in the comments, if would you have stayed long enough to get this much in debt for something like this? Or would you have just cut your losses? There's certain countries and certain cultures where if your wife can't have children, you can get another wife or you can divorce her, no question. And that's what he should have did.
And I was working for a bank by this time, and even though I wasn't customer-facing, I went through bank training that told me what you had to do in the event of a bank robbery. And it was based on that training that, in conjunction with all of the pressures, that one day I just thought, that's the solution.
Well, were you writing sort of software for them, I think?
Correct.
Yeah.
So he was writing software for a bank, and they probably trained him about what to do for a robbery, and he used that information to be able to get away with all the money that he got away with.
And so you'd sold everything. The one thing you did keep was your motorcycle helmets, because you loved your bikes, which came in very handy, because I think you ended up being called the Easy Rider Bandit, I think it was.
Yeah.
The Easy Rider Bandit.
Yeah, the FBI always gives you a moniker.
Yeah. And so because of this work with the bank, you do have access to these manuals, and those manuals contain information that gave you the means to rob a bank, which you were very casual about. I mean, you'd crack on with your day, rob a bank, and then crack on with your day again.
Yeah, I don't want to sound flippant about it, but I basically used to schedule the bank robberies during my lunchtime.
This kind of reminds me, I worked at a retail place when I was younger, and I worked with this guy, and he was a nice guy. And one day I get to work, and his work locker has FBI tape on it, and he was robbing banks. They called him the Whispering Bandit because he'd walk in the bank and then lean over and whisper to the person, he wanted all the money in the person's drawer. But we came to work one day. This is in my early 20s, and people were like, "Did you hear? Did you hear? The Whispering Bandit worked here. It was what's his name?" And I was like, "What?" Yeah, but he was nonchalant about it too. He came into work every day and was happy and nice. And now he was driving a really nice BMW, and we wondered how he got the money for that BMW. Though I guess we figured out why, huh?
So, and because I was a software engineer, I'd come in very early in the morning, 6 o'clock. So I would go to lunch around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. That was the time that I chose to rob a bank. I would go out, rob a bank, go pick up some lunch, go back to work.
With one of them was that your daughter was in the car.
Oh, okay.
His daughter was in the car. Guy, this is one of the saddest things. I would never. There's nothing that is worth losing your freedom for, guys. Nothing at all. Unless it's something that you have to do to, if your wife is being, family, children are being threatened, and you have to do some kind of act to save them. But anything short of that, this is not worth going to prison for. This guy's an idiot. He's an idiot. We're gonna watch a little more of this.
Yeah, that was in the afternoon. It was like we're all parents. We know what it's like. I was planning on robbing a bank that day, and right before I was ready to leave, Patrice calls me and says, "Okay, don't forget, meet me at the club so we can swap cars, and don't forget you're picking up our daughter, which we call Chummy. You got to pick up Chummy." And it's like, "Oh, you're kidding me." So I went. I picked up Chummy, and I was going to go to the gym, and I looked over. Chummy was fast asleep, and I thought, if you're efficient, you can get this done. So I drove to a bank, parked under a tree in the shades, left. Chummy was fast asleep. I went in, I robbed the bank, I came out, I went to the gym, I exchanged cars with Patrice, who berated me. "You got 5 minutes before your class starts." And it's like, sweetheart, I'm just robbing a bank, you know.
So,
Yeah, but
but
you
she
said
didn't
that-
know.
Okay, guys, this is all I can stand. Once again, let me know how big of a simp you think this guy is. Because let's recap real fast. This guy seems like a decent looking dude, in shape, English accent, software engineer. How do you end up with a single mom of 3 who wanted to have a baby and $200,000 in debt? There's no excuse, guys. And none of this was worth him going to prison for. He spent 4 years in prison, got extradited back to England, and he can't go back to the United States because his daughter still lives in the United States. Guys, let me know what you think about this. Like, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.